News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with the latest developments on trade this morning. The president of Switzerland, Corinne Keller-Sutter, has made an emergency trip to the U.S., planning to meet today with Secretary of State Marco Rubio in an effort to lower the U.S.'s 39% tariff on her country's goods. We get more from Bloomberg News senior editor Bill Ferries.
She's flying there basically without an invitation from the White House. I'm sure she's hoping that she can meet with Rubio and then continue over to 1600 Pennsylvania and meet with Trump. We'll see if that really happens. Anything lower than 39% would be a win for Switzerland at this point. It's hard to know what they could offer. They could look at buying more energy from the U.S. They could look at making investments the way countries like Japan has. I think it's clear with this last-minute rush just how blindsided the Swiss government was by that 39% tariff.
And Bloomberg's Bill Ferry says that 39% tariff is the highest on any developed nation, and it's set to take effect tomorrow.
Now let's get to the latest on the war in Ukraine, Nathan. White House envoy Steve Witkoff is in Moscow 2 days before President Trump's August 8th deadline for Russia to reach a truce. The Kremlin says Witkoff is meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Trump has threatened what he calls secondary tariffs on buyers of Russian energy. He says he hopes the economic blow will bring Putin to the table.
If energy goes down low enough, Putin's going to stop killing people. That'll be nice, even though they're his own people that are dying. Him and Ukraine.
President Trump spoke at an interview with CNBC. Putin has said he won't stop the war, but sources say the Kremlin might be willing to stop airstrikes to avert any new economic penalties.
Karen, President Trump may be getting closer to naming a successor to Fed Chair Jay Powell. In that same CNBC interview, he said he has 3 or 4 names in mind. One of them, though, he says is not Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Well, I love Scott, but he wants to stay where he is. I'll take him off because I asked him just last night, is this something you want? Nope, I want to stay where I am. He actually said, I want to work with you. It's such an honor. I said, that's very nice. I appreciate that.
President Trump says he'll decide on a replacement for outgoing Federal Reserve Governor Adriana Kugler by the end of the week.
Nathan, Democratic and Republican lawmakers are escalating a fight over redistricting that started in Texas and is now quickly spreading across the country. President Trump has set a new congressional map in Texas would add as many as 5 GOP seats in the House next year. James Tallarico is a Democratic congressman in Texas.
If the president wanted to campaign on his policies and try to win based on the maps that we all set in 2021, that would be fine. That's how this process is supposed to work. But that's not what's happening. The president is trying to execute a power grab in the state of Texas, and we will not let him cheat in order to hold on to power.
Texas Democrat James Tallarico spoke on Bloomberg's Balance of Power. Now, other states are talking about redrawing their own maps. Democrats in California are vowing to fight fire with fire as they consider asking voters to override the state's independent redistricting panel. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has called for disbanding her state's redistricting committee, though any changes wouldn't happen before the midterms. And Republicans in Missouri are studying whether to copy the plan in Texas.
As for the race for New York City mayor, Karen, former governor turned independent candidate Andrew Cuomo says either he or current mayor Eric Adams will have to drop out in order to defeat Queens Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani. Cuomo spoke with Bloomberg Surveillance.
Everyone is petrified about electing a socialist who's anti-police. And I think you get to mid-September, and that's going to be the, let's call it the drop-dead date, where you're going to have to winnow down the field, or people will think there's no way to beat the assemblyman.
For the full conversation with former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, head over to the Bloomberg Podcast channel on YouTube.
Well, Nathan, there are plenty of new developments in the Jeffrey Epstein case. The House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed the Justice Department for the, quote, full, complete, unredacted Epstein files. Committee Chair James Comer also sent subpoenas to Bill and Hillary Clinton and former FBI Director James Comey, though it's unclear what they'd add to the case. Meanwhile, the disgraced financier's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is fighting to keep the grand jury testimony in her case from going public. She was moved to a minimum security prison last week after meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. President Trump says he does not know anything about that.
Todd Blanche is one of the most highly respected people you'll ever meet. So I know this. I didn't discuss it with him, but anything he talked about with her or the fact that he did that, not unusual, number one, and most importantly is something that would be totally above board.
And President Trump spoke at a White House news conference. The subpoena gives the Justice Department until August 19th to turn over the Epstein record. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.